Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here for Friday, December 20th. Before we get into today's play of the day, quick recap of what happened yesterday. We ended up giving out 3 plays of the day on the Winners and Whiners YouTube pages. We filled in for Scott Steen in the deep 3 as he was battling the flu. In terms of how we did the same exact, we did just as well as we did the day before. We ended up going 2-1 on the card. We ended up winning with the Spurs minus 3.5. They trailed for about 3 quarters, ended up dominating in the 4th, and they ended up coasting to a victory by double digits. We also won with Northeastern minus 6 against Detroit. They ended up winning that game by double digits in college basketball. And the one loss we had was on the over 152.5 between Auburn and NC State, and that game landed exactly at 152, so our only loss came by half a point. Kind of unfortunate, would have liked to sweep the board there, but 2-1 is still profitable, and we were able to make another 0.8 units. So it was a pretty solid past couple of days with the Winners and Whiners page, but Scott Steen is finally healthy once again, and we will be resuming back to our normal coverage here on Scott Selections with the StatSalt YouTube page. So without further ado, we're going to dive into today's play of the day, and it will be an NBA matchup between the Orlando Magic and the Portland Trail Blazers, and that game will be taking place at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And we actually like the total in this game. We like the over 216.5, which is available on FanDuel at minus 110. Now this line has already started to move. It's gone from 216 to 217 in most spots in the offshore books, and it's even gone to 217 and minus 112 to the over on DraftKings. But FanDuel still has 216.5 at minus 110, and I'll gladly take that as I think that line is just simply too low. If you compare these two teams, Orlando so far this season hasn't been great offensively, and they haven't been great defensively either. I mean, they've been decently defensively. Orlando's averaging 103 points per game, 103.5 points per game, and 104.8 points against. However, if you've looked at their performance in the last 4 games, they really have not looked great defensively, but they've looked okay offensively. In their last 4 games, they've given up at least 113 points in 3 of those games. They also gave up 130 to the Rockets at home 4 games ago. Then they gave up 119 to the Pelicans, and they scored 130 in that game. Then Utah was pretty low scoring, 109 to 102. That's based on the fact that Utah likes to play a very slow style of basketball. And they also gave up 113 points to the Nuggets in their last game. So they haven't been playing well defensively at all, despite that 104.8 points against. Meanwhile, Portland has been known to be a terrible defensive unit all season long, and offensively they've been pretty good lately. They're averaging 112.6 points per game, and they're also giving up 114 points per game. If you've looked at the recent numbers, though, they have scored at least 111 points in 3 of their last 4 games. They scored 122 in their last game. They've given up at least 110 in their last 2 games. And just based on how these teams have played lately, I have to lean to the over. Portland has played a lot better over the last, I'd say, week or so, as Portland enters this game having won 3 of its last 4, and Orlando enters this game having lost 4 of their last 5. However, Portland defensively has been a mess ever since Carmelo Anthony has infiltrated the starting lineup. I just don't think Orlando will be able to match up with the guards that Portland has to offer. I expect Lillard and McCollum to do pretty well against Fultz and Fournier, but at the same point, I still think that Aaron Gordon and Vucevic should be able to do pretty well in the front court against Carmelo and Hassan Whiteside. Whiteside's a good defender, but Vucevic has been very solid offensively in his entire career. The only issue he's had has been injuries, and he's finally healthy once again. Aaron Gordon, he did not play well in his last game, but I know that he's definitely more athletic than Melo, and he's also bigger than Melo, and I think he should be able to generate some chances in the low block. I think that this total is a little bit too low. I think Portland could easily get into the 110s to 115 range, and I think Orlando should be able to score at least 107 points in this game as well. So I think that this total is a bit too low. I think this game should be priced somewhere in the over-under, I'd say 219, give or take. I expect to see more money come in on this game moving forward as the game approaches, but 216.5 is too good of a deal for me. So for that reason, the play of the day will be over 216.5 in the Trailblazers and Magic game, and that line is available at minus 110 on FanDuel. So it's over 216.5, which is available at minus 110 on FanDuel. Now talking about some of the leans on today's card, couple of bowl games. I already gave out my thoughts on the Buffalo-Charlotte game in the Bahamas Bowl earlier in the week. We got Buffalo minus 6.5. It's actually at minus 7 now, as I thought it would close. So we actually got a very good number there. We got to keep a key number there, which is very important. Total continues to drop, though, as wind is supposed to be at about 25 miles an hour. So I think this game should be on the lower scoring side, but I also think Buffalo, with the superior rushing attack, should be able to get the job done there. So I'll lean to Buffalo in the under. Moving on, you have the late game between Kent State and Utah State. And the over-under has skyrocketed from 66 to roughly 68.5, and the spread has dropped from Utah State from -8 to -7. A lot of interesting side notes here with Utah State. Their starting quarterback, Jordan Love, who's projected to go in probably the first 3 rounds, first 2 rounds arguably, in the NFL draft. He's already declared, but he also was cited for marijuana possession over this past week, so there's some questions of whether or not he's going to play. According to Utah State's head coach, he does expect Love to play, including some other people who in the incident were running back and a wide receiver. However, nobody got arrested or anything. It didn't seem like anything was really a big deal. It was a misdemeanor offense. And the coach pretty much said indirectly, I don't really care. I think Love's going to play. That's pretty much basically what the coach said. You can look up the quotes yourself, but everything he said pretty much points to Love playing. And Kent State is one of the worst defenses in the entire country. Plus, Utah State's defense isn't great either. Both teams are giving up at least 28 points per game. I think this total is high for a reason. There's a reason why this line has also climbed. I still don't think it's high enough. Utah State could probably end up scoring 40-something in this game, and I think Kent State should be able to score 30 as well. So for me, lean to the over 68.5. I think this game should get into the 70s. And if Jordan Love plays, I have to lean to the -7 on Utah State. Kent State has been very impressive this season compared to preseason expectations, but as a whole, this team just is a mess defensively, and I think Utah State should be able to do whatever they want, and they should be able to score at least 40 points in this game. So lean to Utah State and lean to the over in that one. Now for the NBA, looking at today's card, looking at some leans, what do I like here? I'm going to lean to Toronto -5.5 here against Washington. I know that Toronto is missing a ton of key pieces. Siakam's out, Gasol's out, and I believe for the most part that's it. I know Lowry's back. He's been back for a little while. Van Vliet's a game-time decision, but the Raptors are officially missing Marc Gasol, Norman Powell, and Pascal Siakam. Pretty big deal, but Washington's missing Hachimura and Wagner, and of course John Wall and Thomas Bryant John Wall hasn't played all year, Thomas Bryant's still injured. But Toronto, I just think is a better overall team. This game's going to be pretty high scoring, totals at 230, but Toronto should be rocking Ibaka at the center, and I actually like that matchup. It makes him a little bit more versatile. I really don't like Hollis Jefferson, but he should end up in the starting lineup, and I just think Toronto's still the better overall team. Isaiah Thomas is a complete liability defensively. Bradley Beal's still good. Bonga's okay. Bertans has been really good from the three-point line at the power forward spot, but I definitely think Toronto will come up with a pretty good scheme for him. And Mahinmi is, well, he takes up space. But as overall, I think that there's a reason why, despite all the injuries, Toronto is still laying 5.5, and I think that that is the right side. So lean to Toronto -5.5 on that one. Other than that, though, looking at the rest of the card, lean to Memphis -2 here against Cleveland. I know Cleveland's been playing tougher at home over the last couple of games, but at the same point, I just think Memphis is a better overall team. They should have beaten Oklahoma City in their last game and ended up choking away a double-digit lead late, and I just think Memphis has a better overall team. Jackson and Valanciunas have been a solid front court for them, and John Morant's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. I just think they have more talent. I think that they're a better coach team, and I think that Memphis should be able to get away with the victory. They've also been decent on the road this season. Cleveland is 4-10 at home. Memphis is 5-7 on the road. So -2 I don't think is that bad of a spread here. Lean to Memphis -2. Other than that, though, looking at college basketball, there's a decent amount of games, none of which I really care for, as they're all between a bunch of teams that nobody really cares about. But if I had to look in any direction whatsoever, I'd lean to the over 150 between Georgia and SMU. The line's climbed from 146.5 to 150, and I think that based on the fact that both teams like to play a more up-tempo style of basketball, I think this should be a pretty high-scoring game. I think Edwards will put on a show once again in front of the home crowd, and I think that Georgia should probably end up winning the game, but I definitely think this game will go over. I think one of these teams will get into the 80s. Lean to the Georgia and SMU over in that one. Other than that, though, not really much else to talk about. Play of the day, once again, is going to be on the Magic and the Trailblazers over 216.5, which is available at -110 on FanDuel. Other than that, though, that's going to be this installment of Scott's Selections here for Friday, December 20th. Good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.